Discover the amazing secret behind how nuns found warmth and connection in medieval convents. In a small village cloaked in the shadows of the Black Plague, Eliza's heart pulsed with a fire that stood in stark contrast to her surroundings. At just 22, she carried the weight of her family's expectations on her weary shoulders. Poverty loomed over her home, choking dreams and suffocating hope. Yet, deep inside, she could hear the calling of a higher purpose, a desire to serve in the local convent. As she stood on the edge of her world, looking into the horizon of her dreams, Eliza felt a mixture of courage and fear. Her family relied on her father, broken by illness, her mother weaving lace in the candlelight, and her younger siblings needing guidance. They were murky waters pulling her back whenever she dared to dream of stepping into a life of service, away from the worry that consumed them. Every glance from her mother weighed heavily, every whisper of "what will we do without you?" made her chest tighten. But the convent sang to her in sweet melodies of warmth, community, and faith, an oasis amidst the suffering. As Eliza stepped over the threshold of the convent, the air hummed with the pulse of unity. The nuns welcomed her with open arms and knowing smiles, their sisterhood forged in trials that echoed through the stone walls. Each face reflected strength, resilience, and an unwavering spirit, even as they carried invisible scars from betrayals and the judgment of the villagers. Yet here, in this sanctuary, she felt a warmth wrap around her, like a well-worn quilt on a chilly night. But peace would be fleeting. A rival village, consumed by envy, threatened their haven. Eliza's heart raced with purpose as she listened to their fears. How could they, after all the love and care they'd spread, be forced to retreat? The needs of the vulnerable weighed heavily on her soul, igniting her determination to defend their sacred mission. She reached out to her fellow villagers, urging a bond of support, yet met their disbelief with a sinking feeling in her gut. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Doubt crept in like a thick fog, stifling her confidence. Was she foolish for hoping? Tension in the village rose, her family's survival entwined with her resolve. Yet, on the precipice of despair, something stirred within her, an ember of belief sparked, pushing her to take a stand, to implore love and respect for all. She envisioned a tapestry of lives woven together, capable of weathering any storm. As days passed, she rallied the villagers, working tirelessly to forge connections. But just when unity began to flourish, a betrayal from within their midst shattered her fragile gains. Heart racing, she stood at the center of a brewing storm. Could their collective strength withstand these hardships? The stakes were impossibly high, and with the future of her sisters, their sanctuary, and even her family hanging in the balance, Eliza had only one choice: to fight back, to face the forces threatening everything she held close. With her heart set on justice and connection, doubts loomed large. Would their bonds survive the trials ahead, or would they fracture, leaving behind echoes of division in a community yearning for hope? Eliza stood at the village square, the sun casting flickering shadows on the cobblestones, her heart heavy with uncertainty. Just days ago, hope had seemed close enough to touch, but now, betrayal lingered like a storm cloud overhead. She scanned the faces of her neighbors, each etched with worry and suspicion. A low murmur spread through the crowd as they exchanged glances filled with doubts. When she had convinced them to come together for a meeting, she believed they would rally for a common cause. Yet here they were, fractured by mistrust, a fracture deepening by the day. "What do we do now, Eliza?" An anxious voice broke through the hush, her friend Mary, whose features were drawn tight with concern. Eliza took a deep breath. "We don't back down. We must remember why we're fighting. It's not just about the convent, it's about all of us. Our future." But even as she spoke, a doubt whispered to her. Could they unite after such a betrayal? Her earnest eyes wandered to the distance, where the outline of the rival village loomed, a dark reminder of the enmity they faced. Look! Someone shouted from the back, pointing toward the perimeter of the square. The villagers turned to see a small group from the rival village advancing with a threatening demeanor. Fear tightened Eliza's chest as the tension in the air thickened. Stay calm, she urged, raising her voice. We'll face them together. But her heart thudded out a different rhythm, each pulse echoing the uncertainty that gnawed at her confidence. The approaching figures held sticks and stones, their intentions clear. Eliza faced her own people, desperation clawing at her throat. We cannot let fear divide us. As the rivals reached the square, their leader, a tall man with narrowed eyes, stepped forward. You've overstepped your boundaries, convent dwellers. It's time for you to know your place. Eliza stepped forward, back straight and chin raised, even as her insides twisted with fear. What you want is not justice but to sow division. We're all suffering from this plague, you're not different from us. From among the crowd, murmurs of support began to rise, a wave of collective strength. But Eliza could see the fear in their eyes, could hear the quickened breathing. If they faltered now, the possibility of unity would fade completely. Your sanctuary is a threat to us, the rival leader shouted, brandishing his stick. Leave, or face the consequences. Panic surged as Eliza's heart raced. The vision of the convent crumbling beneath the weight of hatred flashed before her eyes. No! We will not leave! The words spilled from her mouth, clear and defiant. The murmurs intensified around her, a chorus of uncertainty shifting towards something stronger. But would it be enough? As the rift widened, Eliza knew that the next seconds could change everything. With the crowd looking to her for guidance, she had to make a choice: take a stand or let fear prevail. Could her words ignite a flame of rebellion strong enough to push back against the looming darkness? As the two groups stood poised like arrows ready to shoot, Eliza felt the weight of an entire community on her shoulders. What would happen if she stepped forward into the fray? Would she find herself carrying more than she ever dreamed, or would this moment mark the end of the dreams she had so desperately wanted to reach? The answer hung in the air, a heavy silence broken only by the first crack of potential chaos. Eliza's heart pounded like a drum, the frantic rhythm echoing in her ears as she caught sight of the hostility in the rival leader's eyes. He raised his stick, pointing it at her like it was a wand of destruction. A collective intake of breath swept through her people, their faces pale with uncertainty. But among the fear, she found a flicker of hope in their gazes. Enough! She shouted, her voice cutting through the tension like a hot knife. We will not be broken. We are stronger when we stand together. Her words hung in the air, bold and demanding. Eliza felt a shift, a stirring amongst the crowd. Some faces brightened with determination, while others still trembled. But she had seen the flicker of rebellion start to spark in their hearts. She pressed on, the conviction swelling in her chest. Do you want to live in constant fear? She asked, her voice rising. In a world where every man, woman, and child is pitted against one another? We are of one village, one community. Another murmur rippled, the hesitant murmurs of unity knitting the seams of fear together. The rival leader scoffed, but Eliza stood firm, unwavering as she faced the growing animosity. You think you control our fate? He sneered, eyes narrowing dangerously. You are mistaken. So long as your convent stands, we will not rest. We'd rather see it burn to the ground than let it fester like a disease. Eliza felt a shiver run through her. His words were a chilling reminder of what was at stake. And yet, even as the weight of despair threatened to crush her spirit, something deep inside swelled a fierce resilience. No! We will not be driven away by hatred, she exclaimed, taking another step forward. Those who want to burn bridges can't build a future. If you seek to destroy us, understand this: many will rise to defend their home. A ripple moved through the crowd, a wave of energy that began to thrum beneath her feet. She could see that her neighbors were changing, arms were crossing defiantly, heads raising high, chins thrusting forward. They want to instill fear, but fear is a choice. We can choose unity. We can choose to protect our sanctum and each other. As her voice rang clear, a young villager from the back, a child born of their struggles, stepped forward and shouted, I'll fight for my home. The crowd erupted, voices overlapping in a fervent chorus of agreement. Eliza's heart soared. This was the spark she needed. Together we stand. Together we fight. She rallied, and they echoed her cries, their faces resolute. But the rival leader laughed mockingly. You're a fool if you think you can stand against us. You think this is a game? Eliza locked eyes with him, not backing down. No, it's not a game. It's life. Our lives. You only see your hatred. But we see our strength, our community, our future. And nobody can take that from us. The air vibrated with mounting tension as the villagers clumped together more tightly, forming a line of defense. Eliza's heart raced, emotions swirling between hope and fear. As she looked into the eyes of her neighbors, she realized that whatever happened next, they were ready to stand together. It was a terrifying thought, but also empowering. They were on the brink of something monumental, ready to challenge the darkness that loomed. Will we stand as one? She asked, her voice quieter now but still laced with strength. Will we fight for our dreams? Yes. They shouted back, the resolve echoing like thunder through the square. But just as victory seemed within reach, the air shifted again, a new figure emerging from the shadows. This was not someone from the rival village, but a familiar face, someone who had once been a trusted ally. Eliza's heart sank. Why were they here now? What would this unexpected arrival mean for their fragile unity? As the crowd quieted, eyes turning toward the newcomer, uncertainty flooded Eliza's mind. Would this ally fortify their stand, or unleash a new wave of betrayal? The stakes had never felt higher. Eliza took a deep breath as the familiar figure stepped forward. It was Ava, her closest friend from years past. The crowd fell into a hushed murmuring, brows furrowed with worry and curiosity. Ava's face was a mess of emotions: sadness, fear, and determination. Eliza fought back the instinct to run to her, to ask why she had come back now, at such a critical moment. What are you doing here, Ava? Eliza called out, her voice trembling beneath her fierce facade. You should be safe. I had to come back, Ava said, her voice barely rising above a whisper, but it resonated through the tension. I couldn't stay away. I heard what was happening. I had to warn you. A chill crawled down Eliza's spine. Warn? What could she possibly have to say that wasn't already swirling in the air like a storm? The rival leader laughed, clearly intrigued by the unfolding drama. Seems like your little band of misfits is falling apart already, he taunted, crossing his arms with a smug expression. Back home, were you? Stop it! Eliza snapped, adrenaline pumping through her veins. What do you mean, warn me, Ava? Ava's eyes darted nervously between Eliza and the rival leader. It's not safe. They're planning an attack. They want to catch you when you're weak. A murmur of concern rippled through the crowd. Eliza felt her insides twist. She had thought they were ready to stand strong together, but now doubt seeped into her heart like poison. The villagers' resolve began to waver, and she noticed several faces draining of color. No, she said, shaking her head. We can't let fear take root. We are united. We must stand together, for our home. But as she spoke, Ava's face grew more solemn. It's not just about fear, Eliza. They know your strengths now. They'll exploit your bravery. Those cheering now might not hold true when faced with a real threat. We need a plan. And what do you suggest? Eliza felt a surge of frustration, unable to mask the bewilderment in her voice. Run away? Hide? Ava stepped closer, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. No, we fight smart, not with brute force. We can use the convent's defenses, bolster our ranks. I didn't come back just to warn you. I came back to help. Eliza locked eyes with her friend, searching for the truth she hoped to find. The rival leader huffed, clearly enjoying their back and forth. But something in Ava's gaze flickered with the potential Eliza needed. Do you really believe we can stand against them? Eliza whispered, feeling the weight of the villagers around them. Their collective fear hung like a damp quilt, stifling. I do. If we fight together, planning with every step, we can have a chance, Ava insisted. When you look into their eyes, see what they fear. They're just as scared as we are. Realization dawned on Eliza together. With strategy and preparation, they wouldn't just react. They could outsmart their enemy. She felt the embers of hope reignite within her. Then tell me what we need to do, Eliza said, her voice stronger now. We'll prepare. We've come this far together. We won't falter now. The crowd began to murmur in agreement once more, a layer of determination breaking through uncertainty. Eliza turned to face them, channeling their shared courage. We will not stand alone. We will not be divided. But then a loud voice arose from the back, an old villager with a weary face. And what if we fail? He stood trembling, vulnerability etched in his wrinkles. What then? We risk everything, our families, our homes. A heavy silence followed. Eliza felt it deeply, grounding her. How could she reassure them now? What would she say to inspire them when the stakes were rising higher than she had ever imagined? As the tension lingered, Eliza realized that what they faced was more than just a rival village, it was a battle against doubt itself. And just like that, she knew she needed more than words to unite them. She needed action, a plan, and a way to face her own fear. With her heart thumping wildly, Eliza steeled herself for what was to come. With her eyes fixed on Ava, she whispered, "Tell me everything." What did Ava know that could change everything? And could it be enough to save them? Eliza's heart raced as she stared at Ava, anticipation buzzing in the air around them. The fear of what lay ahead gripped her, but the flicker of hope ignited by Ava's return urged her forward. Ava inhaled sharply, her eyes glimmering with purpose. First, we need to strengthen our defenses. The convent is built to withstand sieges, but we can enhance that. We need to gather supplies, make barriers, prepare the gardens for cover. Cover? Eliza questioned, not quite understanding. Listen closely. Certain herbs grow tall with strong stalks. If we can bend them just right, they can hide our movements. The enemy won't see us coming, Ava explained, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. The crowd absorbed her words. Eliza could see the fear in their eyes begin to shift into something else, determination. And what about weapons? Someone shouted from the back. We can't just rely on the convent. Exactly, Ava replied, a fierce spark igniting in her tone. We can forge basic weapons with the tools we have. And more than that, we can train. We need every pair of hands. I'd rather fight together than hide in fear. Eliza felt the adrenaline pulsing through the gathering. Slowly, ideas began to swirl and form like a storm of resolve. She stepped forward, her voice rising. We are more than just a village, we're family. We will not hide or cower. If we prepare, we will stand together, no matter the outcome. The villagers straightened, courage washing over them like a tide. Eliza could see flickers of hope and determination rise in their faces. People nodded, exchanging glances filled with newfound strength. Who will join? Eliza called out, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. One by one, hands shot up, each finger a promise of commitment. The crowd began to fill the air with supportive shouts, their voices rising in a chorus, pushing back against the uncertainties that had clouded their minds. But deep down, the old villager's words still echoed in Eliza's mind. The what-ifs. She needed a backup plan. Fighting was uncertain, and the fear of failure still lingered. Okay, we'll divide into teams, she said, her mind racing. Some will gather supplies, others will learn to defend the convent. And some will. A commotion erupted at the back of the crowd. Footsteps approached swiftly, and the rival leader stepped forward, flanked by a group of his men. They grinned as though relishing the moment. I see you've found your voices. It doesn't matter, he jeered, you will still fall. Adrenaline seized Eliza's lungs. You've underestimated us, she retorted, searching for the confidence she hoped to portray. Your threats mean nothing here. We fight for our home. The rival leader's laughter filled the air, chilling Eliza's heart. Too bad, you'll learn what real fear is soon enough. His smirk was infuriating, yet beneath that bravado, Eliza sensed a flicker of unease. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were more vulnerable than they let on. As they continued to taunt each other, Eliza recalled something Ava had said about fear. Maybe it was time to turn that fear against them. "Get ready!" she barked to her group. "We'll show them what we're made of." She turned to Ava, their eyes locking. "We need a decisive advantage. There must be a weakness we can exploit." In that electrifying moment, a thought hit her, but it was so wild, so not what they had prepared for. The kind of plan that could change everything. "What if we set a trap?" Eliza said, her hands trembling with the weight of the idea. "A clever one that could buy us time." The spark of imagination ignited between them as Ava's eyes widened, full of potential. What could they devise? What clever strategy could send their enemies reeling? But as excitement washed over Eliza, a question loomed ominously in her mind. Would this risk cost them everything? The fate of their village hung in the balance, and as war approached, each heartbeat echoed the tension. Could they turn the tide, or would their courage lead them straight into danger? Eliza's heart pounded in her chest as the realization settled in. A trap could save them, but if they miscalculated, it could also seal their fate. The villagers exchanged worried glances, uncertainty flickering beneath their brave faces, and she felt the weight of their hopes pressing down on her. "What kind of trap?" Ava asked, her brow furrowing with concentration. Eliza took a deep breath, casting her mind back to the stories she'd heard. "We could create a pitfall in the very ground they march on. Camouflage it with branches and leaves from the forest. It could delay them long enough for us to prepare for an actual confrontation or escape if needed. Or both." Ava nodded slowly, catching the vision. The excitement in her eyes sparked Eliza's courage. "But we need to act fast. The rival's men won't wait forever." The tension in the crowd shifted. Purpose crackled in the air. The villagers began to speak amongst themselves, buzzing with a mix of fear and growing enthusiasm. Eliza could sense the swell of determination surge back into their hearts. "All right," she continued, enthusiasm pouring into her words. "Let us divide the tasks. Phil, we need to set up a barricade at the convent entrance while digging the trap at the forest's edge, and we can use the herbs from the garden for camouflage." 100 tasks began to spiral from her lips, gathering tools, scouting for materials, and even rallying the strongest among them to wield what little they could find as weapons. A hand shot up in the crowd, and it belonged to Marcus, a wiry man known for his clever mind. "If we can gather enough roots and wildflowers from the gardens, we can make our own smoke bombs. It could confuse them during a follow-through." Eliza's spirit lifted further. "Yes. That's perfect, Marcus." Seeing the resolve crystallize in the faces around her fueled Eliza's hope. The fear that had once frozen her seemed to melt away as adrenaline surged through her veins. They were on the same page, working as one. But as they dispersed into small groups, a worried thought niggled at the back of her mind. The rival leader wouldn't underestimate them again. If they were to execute this plan, it needed precision. The success they sought was a double-edged sword, reliant on cunning and cooperation. "Remember," she called, her voice echoing. "Trust each other. Communication is vital. We have each other's backs." Ava stood by her side, nodding. "We must scout the terrain where the trap will be laid. Knowing the land can give us an upper hand." As they raced toward the forest's edge, Eliza felt the shift of momentum in her favor. There was a strange thrill in knowing that risk had turned into potential. Yet, somewhere deep down, the question loomed: what would they do when confronted on the battlefield? As they began to dig, sweat beading on their brows, the whisper of the trees surrounding them felt like a watchful gaze. With their very home at stake, Eliza was determined to fight not just with fists, but with her heart and wits. But as shadows lengthened across the ground, a sudden rustle from the bushes made Eliza freeze. Unease clawed at her insides. Were they being watched? "Stay alert," she hissed, her throat dry with fear. As she scanned the tree line, a figure emerged, cloaked and unseen. The tension swelled around them like a storm on the horizon. Could the rival leader have come sooner than expected? Or was it something worse? Eliza's pulse raced as the figure stepped into view. It was a harbinger of change, and in that moment, she couldn't shake the feeling that a new twist was about to unfold. What then awaited them? The figure stepped into the dim light just as the sun began to dip behind the treetops, casting elongated shadows that danced like specters around them. Eliza's heart seemed to momentarily stop as she took in the sight before her. It was a woman, wrapped in a dark cloak, with a hood that obscured her face. But Eliza could see the flash of determination in her eyes, a fiery spark that mirrored their shared struggle. "Eliza!" Ava whispered urgently, nudging her forward. "What do we do?" "Hold your ground," Eliza replied, her voice steady despite the surge of anxiety in her chest. "Let us see who this is." The woman's gaze flickered from Eliza to the villagers, absorbing the tension in the air like a sponge. "I mean you no harm," she said, her voice low and soothing yet firm. "I come from the eastern hills. The word of your plight has reached me, and I bring a message and a warning." "What kind of warning?" Eliza asked, taking a cautious step closer. She felt the collective breath of her villagers beside her, each awaiting the woman's response. "The rival leader is more cunning than you think," the woman continued, pulling back her hood to reveal long, silver-streaked hair that hung around her shoulders. Her face bore the marks of countless years in the sun, yet her eyes retained a youthful glimmer. "He has spies in the woods, people who will not hesitate to lead him to you. The trap you plan to set can work, but only if you act swiftly. He plans to march at dawn." Shock rippled through the villagers, the reality of their impending confrontation crashing down like a wave. Eliza's mind raced. Dawn was mere hours away. "If he has spies, how many men are coming?" she pressed, trying to piece together any advantage they might have. "Far more than you expect. But they will be reckless," the woman said, her voice now rising, filled with urgency. "Underestimating your resolve could be his greatest mistake. Use that, Eliza. Harness the spirit of your people." Eliza felt the weight of those words settle heavily in her heart. "But how can we trust you?" She couldn't help but be wary. Uncertainty still lingered like an unwelcome guest. "I am known as Maeve," the woman said softly, taking another step closer. "I've seen battles lost by underestimating the heart of a community. Through the East, we have learned to come together against the odds." She paused, her gaze piercing through the fear that gripped Eliza. "Do you have someone you can rely on, someone who can help craft the smoke bombs before dawn?" "Marcus!" Eliza shouted, searching the crowd until she found him. "Come here!" Marcus rushed over, his brow glistening with effort and confusion. "What is it, Eliza? What's the plan?" Maeve looked him in the eye. "You have knowledge of the earth, the plants. Can you fashion the bombs quickly?" "I can try," Marcus replied, already planning, the wheels turning in his mind. "Then go," Eliza urged, heart pounding. "Gather everyone else. We'll need all hands on deck. We have until dawn." As Marcus dashed off, Eliza turned back to Maeve. "If we succeed, what's next?" The woman's eyes shone with something akin to hope. "You fight not just for your village but for the freedom of many who dare to be brave. It's time to be more than mere survivors." The weight of her words settled in Eliza. This wasn't just about holding on to their home. It was about embracing something bigger than themselves. As Maeve melted back into the forest shadows, a new resolve ignited within Eliza. This was a moment of truth, a chance to shift the tide toward their favor. She could already feel the villagers rallying around her, as if a spark had ignited a fire. The air hummed with energy. They were ready for whatever lay before them. But as she glanced toward the darkening woods, the unease began to creep in again. Driven by adrenaline, she thought of what dawn would bring. Would they be ready to face their fears? Would the villagers stand as one against the tide of doubt and despair? In the heart of the night, a battle loomed closer than ever, and they had no choice but to confront their fate. Would they hold strong together, or would the dawn only reveal their downfall? Eliza took a deep breath, feeling the raw energy of the villagers surrounding her. She could sense their anxious hearts, but beneath the fear lay a thread of shared resolve. Every face reflected the weight of what was to come. She needed to rally them, to turn their collective fear into strength. "Listen to me," she called out, raising her voice over the murmurs. We stand at the edge of something monumental. Maeve's warning is not just about danger, it's a chance and opportunity for all of us to show what we are made of. The crowd fell silent, eyes locking on her, promises of past battles and lost opportunities hanging in the air. Eliza could feel her heart racing, adrenaline flowing through her veins. She stepped into the small clearing at the center, embracing the embrace of uncertainty. We fight for our home, for those we love, for a better future where we are not hiding in the shadows. A wave of applause rippled through the villagers, lifting some of the tension. She saw Marcus return with a handful of herbs and small vials, determination etched across his face. The sight filled her with hope. She gestured him forward. Marcus, we need your knowledge. You're not just making smoke bombs, you're crafting a shield for our people. He nodded, eyes brightening. Right. We can mix these to create a thick, blinding smoke. It'll give us cover while we make our move. But we need everyone to gather what we can, anything that can help us create a distraction. As he began issuing commands, others joined him, each sprinting into the night to gather supplies. Eliza felt buoyed by their energy. They were coming together, each with a vital part to play. Time seemed to blur as minutes turned into frantic hours. She helped organize a makeshift assembly of tools and weapons, hands working together as her villagers began to chat amongst themselves, sharing old stories and fostering courage. With every laugh and whispered plan, the weight of impending doom seemed to lessen. Eliza's eyes darted to the forest, shadows playing tricks on her mind, but she shook it off. They had their work. But just as their spirits began to lift, a shout broke through the air. Eliza! We need you! A villager ran toward her, breathless and wide-eyed. We saw movement in the trees. I think they're scouting us. Fear knotted tight in her stomach. The enemy was closer than they anticipated. Eliza! Shouted another voice. What do we do? She felt the pressure of their gazes, the weight of their hope resting squarely on her shoulders. A realization hit. They were not just fighting for survival, they were fighting for the life they wanted to build together. Stay calm, she commanded, feigning steadiness even as her heart raced. We prepare. If they want to scout, let them see us preparing. We'll turn their expectations against them. Show them our strength. The murmurs turned into roars of agreement, flames igniting in the hearts of her people. As the villagers gathered closer, Eliza called, Marcus, finish those bombs. We'll need them. Everyone else, ready your things. Between the flickering torches, she could see the determination igniting in their eyes. Hope was blooming against despair. They wouldn't go down without a fight. But as they rallied together, a chilling thought gripped Eliza. What if they were not ready? What if their fire couldn't hold against the storm approaching? With dawn moments away, she stood tall, heart pounding. They were standing on the edge of battle, ready to grasp their destiny. Would they become the heroes of their own story, or would fear take their hopes hostage? With uncertainty looming like a dark cloud, she whispered a silent prayer, pleading for strength. The dawn was mere moments away. As the first light began to creep over the horizon, shadows moved closer than before, and a sense of impending doom filled the air. The first rays of sunlight peeked through the trees, casting long shadows that danced upon the ground. As the villagers prepared themselves, that creeping light seemed to both illuminate their determination and highlight their vulnerability. Eliza felt her throat tighten as she scanned the forest's edge, the eerie silence amplifying the pounding of her heart. A shift in the air made her stomach twist. The enemy was out there, lurking, waiting for the right moment to strike. She could almost envision them, cloaked in darkness, their intentions clear, to intimidate and conquer. But she also saw something else: her people, their eyes glistening with fire and courage, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Gather round! Eliza called, her voice piercing the building tension. We turn our fear into action. Remember why we stand here today. Each of you has a role, a strength that contributes to our cause. The villagers drew closer, forming a tight circle. Faces, young and old, reflected a collective purpose, a shared heartbeat. Marcus stepped forward, fumbling with the vials in his hands, his face resplendent with determination. "Here's the plan," he said, voice steady. "We'll create distractions with smoke and sound, giving us a chance to flank their positions. I need your help." As he outlined their strategy, Eliza watched her people rally. Old-timers who had seen their share of conflicts exchanged glances with the youth brimming with eagerness. They nodded, silently affirming the unity that had forged them into a community. Moments later, Eliza caught sight of a glimmer beyond the trees. Figures emerged, shrouded in shadows but unmistakably hostile. Her heart raced as they advanced, their bodies moving with purpose, a stark contrast to the frail hopes of the villagers. Fear clawed at her chest, but she thrust it aside. The time to act was now. "Ready!" she shouted, clutching her dagger at her side, gripping it so tight her knuckles turned white. The villagers followed suit, their hands trembling yet firm on improvised weapons. "For our home. For each other." Just as the last word left her lips, a series of loud bangs erupted from the edge of the clearing. Marcus had tossed his first smoke bomb. A thick, black cloud exploded into the dawn, swirling and enveloping the approaching shadows. Panic ensued among their foes as they staggered back, bewildered, mouths half open in confusion. "Now!" Eliza commanded, adrenaline coursing through her. "Let us move." The villagers rushed forward, emboldened by the sudden advantage. They shouted battle cries, the kind that stirred the depths of their souls. Eliza felt the surge of camaraderie, a powerful reminder that they were not alone in this fight. But amidst the chaos, doubt began to creep in again. What if their bravery wasn't enough against seasoned warriors? What if the smoke faded too soon, revealing their vulnerability? Holding on to hope felt risky, but they had come too far to turn back. As the dust settled and screams filled the air, Eliza led the charge, realized one painful truth: this battle would demand everything they had. Each step forward was treacherous yet necessary. She would fight, not just for survival, but for a life filled with happiness, for the future that her villagers deserved. Then, before Eliza could fully grasp the waves of emotion crashing through her, a piercing scream cut through the air, chilling her to the bone. She turned just in time to see one of the villagers stumble back, a figure emerging from the shadows, eyes cold and intent. The heart of the battle was no longer just about strategy. It was about survival, about making sacrifices that would leave scars deeper than any blade. "Protect each other," Eliza shouted, rallying her people even as fear threatened to consume her. But deep down, as the conflict escalated, a new question began to form in Eliza's mind. What would they have to sacrifice to win this day? Driven by desperation, she fought onward, her heart steadying around the uncertainty that lay ahead as darkness loomed closer. The village square was a cacophony of chaos. Pastel-tinted smoke trails rose in thick plumes, veiling the sun and weaving through the trees, as villagers clashed with their rivals. Heart-pounding, Eliza dashed forward, every ounce of fear and uncertainty driving her to protect her home, that sanctuary she had fought so hard to defend. "Move! Move!" she yelled, eyes scanning the tumult. The outward chaos masked the inner storm brewing within. She felt alive, yet the weight of fear still clawed at her insides. Just ahead, she spotted Marcus, chaos erupting around him as he prepared another smoke bomb. "Marcus!" she shouted, waving him closer. He met her gaze, panic tempered with determination. "We need to hold them back while we regroup." He nodded, tossing the smoke bomb like a torch, releasing dark clouds that engulfed the approaching rival villagers. The distraction sent waves of confusion through their ranks. It was their chance. "Everyone, fall back!" Eliza called to her villagers, her voice piercing through the noise. "We need to create a tight formation." As they huddled together, she caught glimpses of familiar faces: Mary, wide-eyed but fierce; old Thomas, weathered yet steadfast; and Ava, her loyal friend, appearing every bit the warrior holding a makeshift club. Each glance ignited a flicker of courage that surged through the group. "Here's the plan," she urged, quickly outlining a strategy. "We flank from both sides, using the smoke to conceal our movements. Remember our power as a community, we fight for each other." She felt the resolve flow back into their spirits, igniting a new fire beneath the surface. With one last determined breath, she led the charge. As they surged forward, the world around her snapped into sharper focus. She could hear the shouts of her people, the clang of makeshift weapons against hardened armor, and the very air itself seemed charged with energy. But then, in a heartbeat, a piercing scream shattered the moment. Eliza turned to see Mary fall back, clutching her shoulder, a rival soldier looming over her like a dark cloud. No! Eliza's blood ran cold as she rushed forward, fear giving way to instinct. She pushed through the chaos, navigating the smoke and shadows until she reached Mary, crouched and trembling. "Are you okay?" Eliza asked, kneeling beside her friend, a mixture of panic and fierce protectiveness coursing through her veins. "I think I'm hurt," Mary whispered, eyes brimming with tears, but the fear in her voice ignited something primal in Eliza. "Stay with me, I'll get you out," she said fiercely, grabbing Mary's other arm and hoisting her up. The heat of battle surged around them, but within that frantic moment, time felt suspended. The rival soldier loomed closer, a sneer etched across his face, and Eliza's heart thundered as she pulled Mary away, grabbing a nearby rock and hurling it with every ounce of strength she possessed. It struck the soldier right in the temple, startling him. "Run!" Eliza shouted. Without looking back, they scrambled toward the sanctuary of the convent. Adrenaline surged as Eliza rallied her breaths, scanning around at their neighbors fighting bravely a mere breath away. In that fleeting moment, something incredible happened. The villagers coalesced, their spirit melding together. Each person became a soldier standing for something greater than fear. As they finally reached the sacred stone walls of the convent, Eliza let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. They had made it back. "Form a barricade," Eliza called, her voice ringing through the chaos. "We will not let them through." The villagers rallied, grabbing whatever they could find: wood, barrels, stones. Nothing could get past them now. The adversaries began to push forward again, eyes filled with rage. But as they neared, something unexplainable shifted in the air. Eliza felt her heart lift, ignited by the unity around her. They were standing together, facing the storm head-on. With renewed strength, she stepped forward, raising her dagger, an emblem of determination. "We fight for our home. We fight for one another." The villagers echoed her cry, their spirits soaring again. They raised their hands, hearts echoing with the rhythm of a community banding together. The rival forces halted, momentarily stunned, as Eliza's voice pierced through their ranks, and then, just when it seemed impossible, a powerful figure emerged from behind the enemy lines. Maeve, the mysterious woman from the woods, leading a group of fighters fabricated from the east. They charged into the fray with strength and purpose, and where darkness had loomed, a new force had emerged. Eliza felt tears prick her eyes, overwhelmed by the unexpected infusion of power. They weren't alone, they had allies. With a fierce roar, she led her villagers into the melee. Together, with Maeve's newfound forces and the bond of the village, they surged forward, a unity unlike anything ever experienced before. "In all this chaos, we find our strength." Maeve's voice rang clear through the fog, reaffirming their shared mission. Eliza fought with every ounce of her being, fueled by the passion for not just survival, but for hope, for joy, a future they could build together. Every strike felt liberating, every protected soul a testament to their shared spirit. As the battle wore on, a tipping point emerged. The rival soldiers began to falter, confusion creeping into their ranks as they faced a united front fueled by passion. Before long, with one final push, the tide shifted. The rival leader, bewildered and outnumbered, finally called for retreat. "Back! We cannot win this day," he yelled as the remaining soldiers sprinted away into the vanishing smoke. Victorious shouts erupted from Eliza's comrades, a chorus of relief mingling with adrenaline. They clasped each other in awe, the weight of what they had just accomplished flooding their hearts. As dawn broke brighter than ever, illuminating their battered but unbroken village, Eliza felt a swell of love and hope course through her. They had faced darkness, leaned into fear, and emerged as something incredible together. Tears of joy filled her eyes, and the glow of victory radiated around her. She knew this was just the beginning. They would rebuild, nurture their dreams, and create a haven where love and respect reign true. And with each person, every heartbeat, they would weave their lives together like a tapestry that could withstand any storm. This battle had forged them anew, and now they were ready for whatever lay ahead, with unity as their heart and determination propelling them forward. As Eliza clasped Mary's hand, a fierce smile broke through the relief, as whispers of a hopeful future began to echo in their souls. They were a community bound by love, stronger than ever before. Now, it's your turn to stand strong. If you enjoyed this journey with Eliza, don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below and share your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters. And don't forget to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. This is your moment to stand as a true fan. Let us carry this community forward together.